And if I'm being really honest, I actually think Lycaon needs to sit below Koleda in tier 1. Hello Degens. So we've got a few more days before our Qingyi is going to be leaving us and switching over to Jane. But what I do have to say is that with this counter going down and having played her like quite extensively, especially with Jane, I gotta say, I'm getting really freaking tempted to roll for this robot free run. And don't get me wrong, my guys, because I am a massive fan of Jane. I really like her character and her playstyle, but I've recently been spending a lot of time playing Qingyi after trying Qingyi out with Jane. I was like, hold up. Wait, Qingyi kind of feeling busted, you know? And from a meta point of view, she is actually like freaking cracked out and looking ridiculously future-proof. And to explain, I only recently got access to Qingyi, so forgive me if I'm a little bit late on this, but today, let's talk about Qingyi and why she is actually luring me away from the rat. So let me start off with what actually shocked me the most, because I don't see anybody actually talking about this, right? And it's actually this clang clang thing over here, like this one right here. I don't know if you guys can see, but that is actually a freaking vacuum. Like, I get that it's not as strong as Nicole's, but like any Succ is good Succ. Like, look at that shit. What the frick? They're all just clumped up together. They're waiting to get shafted by my big pole. Like, ding, ding, ding. Bam. Especially in a game where our performance is measured by freaking timers and we've got a whole bunch of these mobs like all over the place. This Succ actually matters a freaking lot. And the fact that I can actually like move this Succ around, this is actually kind of nutty, man. Now, I don't know if it's because people don't really value it that much because they think that they can just clear like the normal mobs really easily. But yeah, something like this can absolutely make or break a Shiryu run. Like, holy crap, look at them just coming towards the center, coming close to me. He's freaking getting sucked in now. That guy didn't get sucked in, but look at that. Holy moly, man. Anyway, I think that's enough about that one. Let's talk about the next one. And that is the crazy 80% multiplier. I don't even know what the hell MiHoYo were thinking when they put that thing in. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm about to put him into stun. And when we come out of stun, you're going to see he's at 230%. So if you can see, look at his days bar over here, at damage, 230%. What the frick? That's freaking crazy. 80% extra free damage in the phase that we actually do most of our damage. That's freaking crazy, dude. Like, in my opinion, the only thing that could be possibly better than that is like if a new character, a new stun character was like, oh, I am going to give an unconditional 40% damage boost after using my EX skill or something. It's unconditional. It doesn't have to be in the stun phase. It's at all phases. So maybe right now I hit him like with an EX and they get 40% extra damage taken. That's like almost how crazy that other one was. It's just gonna take something crazy like that to be able to dethrone extra 230%. And so that 80% multiplier on that core ability, the core passive, that one combined with the fact that her additional ability only requires an attack type character. Now, I think everyone knows this one. Like, these two things make her exceptionally future-proof. Because that attack type character could be your Ellen, it could be your Julian, it could be your freaking Miyabi if like it turns out that she is actually attack. From what I can tell, all of her buffs are like so general, so generic that they will work for anybody. And so in my opinion, I do think that Qingyi is going to be relevant for a very, very long time. Like, even look at the anomaly. So many people have now discovered just from like using her with Jane Doe or Piper or whoever it is. She is actually still giga cracked because her damage, it benefits everybody. With this kind of multiplier at like 80%, she may as well be a freaking support, right? Like, what I can see happening is that one day there is going to be like another support that comes along, another limited S rank support, and maybe in their core skill, they might give like crit rate or crit damage or something. You can't use that for anomaly, or I mean, maybe if you're into that. Maybe it's going to be my famous last words, but I do not think that this girl is going to be getting power crept anytime soon. And so the last thing I did want to say is that she's just freaking dead easy to play. Spam left click, charge up that yellow golden bar on the top left hand corner, and then just hold your left click to do like the big giga spear pole thing, right? Like, it literally doesn't get simpler than that. Dodge when you need to, and then just go back to spamming. Like, holy moly. Especially in the end game, we've just got so many things flying around. Like, some people just don't have the mental capacity to deal with this. We just want something that is simple, reliable, does a lot of damage, and works. And so all of that being said, here is where I do want to get a little bit spicy, right? Because I look at this tier list over here by Pridewin, and you know, I love these guys. They do great work. But I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because Qingyi is being rated the same as Lycaon. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. And somehow, Succ is still at T0. Like, what the hell is this disrespect? My poor Nicole is at T0.5. And then, like, Lucy down here, what the heck? Oh, my lord. That's all right. Let's talk about that in another video. But looking over here, back at the stunners, I just can't, man. Qingyi and Lycaon, I don't think so. Now, let me start off by saying that I do have Lycaon and I do have Koleda, right? I've been using them for a while. And so let me quickly rearrange this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a T1 down here. And so what I'm going to say is that Mr. Lycaon, I love the guy, but he has to come down here at the very least. And if I'm being really honest, I actually think Lycaon needs to sit below Koleda in T1. And so therefore the final ranking would be Qingyi at the top at T0, Koleda at T0.5. So let me just like write that down. And then I think Mr. Lycaon, maybe I can snip him away and then like put him down over here. I do think that he is actually a T1. I do think that he is below Koleda. And look, Lycaon is so good for the ice team. But if you don't have the ice team, or Ellen even, I would actually say I prefer Koleda, and I need to apologize to Koleda because she was actually the character that I did not like the most. Go back to any of my older videos, maybe like a month, maybe a month and a half ago, and I'm gonna be like, oh man, I don't really like Koleda. I know she's good, but I don't really like her. She is freaking phenomenal. Like if I had to build an off element team, so maybe I have a Zhuyuan and I have a Koleda and a Lycaon, which is actually exactly my team. I do have a Zhuyuan and I don't have a Qingyi, so I have to pick between Lycaon and Koleda. I would pick Koleda every single time. And the reason is because she is just so freaking easy to play. Dodge, dodge counter, dodge, dodge counter. And her days, it's absolutely nutty. It's actually just unfair. And so in my opinion, from a general use perspective, I think that Koleda is just straight better. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, Wolf Boy absolutely is super strong, especially because of the ice damage resist buff. But what a lot of people forget is that Lycaon also has his basic attack charge to completion. You get an extra 40%. I think it's up to 80% extra days. You don't get this. You are never gonna get this in endgame, especially when you have like two big dudes gangbanging you. The animation of this thing is just way too long for all of the different stages. Remember, it is always backloaded. What I'm saying is that the damage and the days is always the highest multipliers at the very end. And I'm saying that you ain't getting these, man, because again, those guys are coming after your ass. And so what that means is that in endgame, we're going to be using our dodge counter a lot. But what I do need to point out is that Lycaon's dodge counter, his days at level 1, no, let's go to level 16. That days ratio is 283, which is actually less than level 1 of Koleda's dodge counter. Level 1, you can see 288. And again, especially in endgame, we're going to be doing this a lot. And so yeah, in my opinion, Koleda is just a better like general stunner, and being a general stunner means that you're universally a better character for all teams, as opposed to Mr. Lycaon giving his ice resist down thing, making him a really good ice pick. And so that brings me to Qingyi. Now, what Qingyi has over Koleda is that her additional ability, we're talking this one right here, it can be activated by any attacker. Whereas Koleda, as we all know, it can only be activated by the classic, same attribute, same faction. On top of that though, Qingyi absolutely does have that Succ, the vacuum for all of those trash mobs to bring them into the center for a big AoE. And the reason that's so nice is because on the other hand, Koleda, when you use her EX skill and maybe her auto chain actually, she freaking spreads out the enemies, which is really freaking annoying. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is that Qingyi has that massive plus 80% multiplier from the core passive. And unfortunately, Koleda just loses there. She does have like a little bit of damage amplification where she can get your chain attacks dealing more damage to the targets. But that being said, there are a lot of people who skip chain attacks. I'm hoping you're not skipping your chain attacks if you're using Koleda. And this thing is strong, especially because it stacks up to 2 times up to 70%, but it's not nearly as universal as Qingyi's one, which is just straight damage, which means you can use it with your Zhuyuan when she's unloading all of like her basic attacks. Or even same with like your Ellen, who you should also be using your basic attacks on when they are dazed. And at the end of the day, the hardest content is always going to be the timed content, because you can get good and S rank the non-hit content, but everyone hits an investment cap, like a damage cap. And so more damage is always just gonna be better. Now, I do want to bring this back to Jane, and don't get me wrong, Jane is fantastic. I think that for a first time limited anomaly, she actually performs exceptionally well. It makes me really excited for Bernice, for example. And even though Jane is like extremely greedy for on-field time, she actually performs really freaking well on off-element enemies, aside from the resisted ones, of course. That being said though, Jane is also kind of more likely to get power crept because she could be replaced by a physical attacker. For example, if you had Nekomiyamana, I thought it was Nekomata. Oh, it is Nekomata over here for some reason. But if you have Nekomata, you absolutely can skip Jane. And honestly, you could actually say the same thing about Qingyi, but what history has shown us is that when MiHoYo or HoYoverse raises the difficulty, they like to raise the HP of enemy units, which means that newer units, generally newer DPS units, they will most of the time do more damage than the older ones. So like your Jane, power creeping your Nekomata, or maybe there's going to be another physical attacker who will come along and power creep Jane. Now I'm just saying that that's usually how it goes down. Like there is a chance that they could actually, I don't know, make enemies harder to daze. And to that I would say, oh god, I really freaking hope not. Like, that is actually pretty possible now that I think about it. But yeah, if I was to bet on it, I would say that it's more likely that they make their newer units do more damage and then raise the HP of enemies. Alright gang, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I actually really like Qingyi. I didn't like her when she was first released, but after playing her some time, she is just freaking cracked out. I just needed to glaze her a little bit, you know? And so, yeah, let me know if you guys did actually roll for Qingyi. I'm still on the fence, and I say that, but actually I pulled for her and I just got screwed over by a Lycaon. Anyway, my guys, that is enough from me. That's the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.